Hey everyone, my name's 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗁 with Elastic, and today we're going to be talking about Mission Scalable, Elastic Cloud Serverless meets Azure OpenAI. So let's talk about the what and the why. So I like barbecue. I don't know if you could tell from the grays of my beard that I'm getting up in age where either I have to make a choice between Civil War or history or barbecue and really getting into smoking different meats. And that's the choice I've gone with. But yeah, this is my version of barbecue as a service. And on the left-hand side, because I love barbecue so much, I love the process. It's a whole great thing. I have an offset smoker, or you could do a pellet grill. I choose my wood, the type of cut of meat I want. So it'd be ribs, or maybe might be brisket, might be pork shoulder. I choose the different type of flavor profiles, different rubs, maybe some things that you might inject the meat with. But of course, it takes a long time. It could take 12, 14, even more hours. Really depends on how large the meat is. And that barbecue or the do-it-yourself is, gives you the most amount of control of how you eat barbecue there or how you create barbecue. And as you kind of move up the scale to simplicity, the next is, let's say you could buy a kit, and some companies will send you a whole kit of food where you chop up the veggies, spices, and there's a more of involved ingredient list that gives you a little less control because all those ingredients are just sent to you and you could use them, but it provides a little more simplicity. And of course, if you go to Costco, for example, shout out to them, there's a rub that you could buy or pre-rubbed ribs, and you follow the very simple instructions. Maybe put the oven at 200 degrees and you cook the ribs for, I don't know, maybe about 3 hours. You pull them out and you're ready to eat. And of course, the most simple way of consuming barbecue is just going to a restaurant. This is Franklin's in Austin, very famous. And that's probably the easiest way to consume barbecue. So all of these examples here, you are eating barbecue at the end of this, but you have more control to having more simplicity as you kind of move up and down. So one of the things that we're announcing today is Elastic Cloud Serverless on Azure. And as you can see, on the very right-hand side, this is our just go to a restaurant and consume barbecue. Well, this is just consume Elasticsearch as a service. Like if you were thinking about any type of Office 365, you're just consuming Word, or you're just consuming those services, right? And on the left-hand side, you have on-premises. This is kind of like you do everything, you do everything yourself. So you self-manage the servers, the infrastructure, the network, the storage, the racking, cooling, the whole works. But of course, it gives you the most amount of control. So you can run Elasticsearch on premises. And if we go into infrastructure as a service, this is where we provide Elastic Cloud on Kubernetes. This is called our Elastic Cloud Kubernetes offering, where we do a lot of the orchestration for you. And a platform as a service, or really today what you probably known as Elastic Cloud, that's hosted, where we orchestrate the infrastructure, but you still run the platform pieces of Elasticsearch. And the SaaS, of course, we manage everything, you just consume the service. So how did we implement this? So before, we had our existing architecture that was really geared towards what's called, stateful architecture. So as data that was very important happened to reside on nodes, and if that nodes went down, they would lose data. So we quickly, very early on, added the concept of replica shards. And that replica shards could easily be spread across different nodes and different shards. So we had a hot and a replica. But as that data started to age, let's say it's after 24 hours, we noticed that that data was being searched less. So we could put it on slower disks. It wasn't as critical as it was for the first 24 hours of data to get that real-time analytics. So as we started moving data onto the cold tier, we also realized, hey, there's some data that we can leverage on object storage exclusively called the frozen tier. And by the way, it is very fast because we cache a lot of those queries onto a memory cache. But we started to separate, compute from storage. We were able to then run, ingest those nodes and then store them on storage like object storage for retrieval or for queries. And as we kind of integrated that architecture, we wanted to build a new architecture that really was going to be stateless. Inherently, object storage has a lot of redundancies already built with it. So there wasn't any need for having any replica data, even though replica data in the past really served us as ways to concurrently search using different CPUs and different nodes. But because now we could fully decouple indexing and search as well, we could use more CPU for search, but also we're leveraging the redundancy and the resiliency of object storage. So not only are we separating search from indexing, but we're doing compute from storage, which gives us a lot of flexibility on how we deploy. But this stateless architecture is the foundation for Elastic Cloud Serverless. So it's not something we just did a lift and shift. What we did is we did a reimagining or redesigning architecture of Elasticsearch from the ground up. And there's a blog that kind of goes a little bit more into the architecture of stateless. And if this was a Kubernetes meetup, I would go into a little more details on this. But in short, Kubernetes is how we orchestrate Elastic serverless, and we use the different global parameters to manage the data controllers. And we have this global and regional and data plane that we've done. Now, there's actually a great video, which is this QR code here, of Sebastian at KubeCon. Last year, on how he built this infrastructure and how the team built this infrastructure and how Elastic Cloud Serverless operates today. So let's actually go into some of the serverless features. So limitations are a feature. Where have you heard that before? So limitations are a feature because if you have ever managed Elasticsearch before, there's node APIs, there's shard APIs, replicas. There's a lot of infrastructure or platform type APIs that you don't need anymore because that's something that as Elasticsearch we're managing. We're fully managing those services. So we limit the amount of operational APIs that you have to know. Versioning is I would say non-existent, but you don't have to worry about upgrading to new versions. As you're using these different serverless projects, you're always on the latest version of Elasticsearch. So, for example, today we released 8.18 and 9.0. Elasticsearch Serverless or Elastic Cloud Serverless has all those latest features. And because we can focus on our primary use cases, which is search, observability, and security, we can tailor to each of those use cases in each of the projects. Whereas search might be more dependent on CPU for those high query requests. Often requests, let's say, an e-commerce website, especially maybe on Black Friday. Versus you want more of an indexing of your time series data for observability and security use cases. So we could tailor those capabilities with each search project. So auto-scaling, so we can automatically scale up and down. And this really helps with preventing of under-provisioning or over-provisioning of resources. So really the Elastic Cloud Serverless scales based on thread pool and memory utilization. So what we've done is we set up a test, which will release a video here. It was kind of a funny little thing that we did. We pointed 40 Logstash instance to Elastic Cloud Serverless, and we're able to get up to about 8 terabytes of ingestion per hour. And spooling up from nothing to total, we were able to get that data quickly in. And after 15 minutes of done ingesting the data, the environment automatically scaled down. The Elastic Cloud Serverless project scaled down. So that really does help with a lot of the costs and also not, spending too much money on over provisioning or waiting time and doing under provisioning. And there's some QR codes about blog a little bit more about that. And because we are splitting up indexing and search tiers, they allow for independent scaling. That gives you a lot of benefit. Your CPU or your money is really put to where you need it most. If you need more search, before you really had to also increase the whole cluster size and you had indexing. And there's another great blog here as well, this QR code, and I happen to put the URL here as well, on actually the performance of Elastic Cloud Serverless. So now let's go ahead and go into a demo. And in this demo, what we're going to do is we are going to start a serverless Elasticsearch project. And then what we're going to do is quickly ground the Azure OpenAI model with some of our Elasticsearch data. And I'll go through this a little bit more in detail as we're kind of going through this demonstration. Now, when you start a free trial through Elastic Cloud Serverless, this is one of the screens you might be presented with is what type of project you want to create. And notice, it's funny, I've been using this trial for a lot of other demos here for Microsoft Build. I only have 1 day left, but it gives you 14 days for the trial. I figured, hey, I'm going to really try to run this this trial, this demo as much as I can. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an Elasticsearch project. This is the search project. We also have observability and security, but I'm just going to go ahead and go into Elasticsearch. And I've already pre-populated some of this, so you're not seeing me type in everything as I'm going along. But I'm going to call this the Microsoft Build Demo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select for Optimize Vectors. And instead of another cloud here, I'm just going to go to Azure. And notice this is in technical preview. And of course, this is going to be later in GA. So I'm going to go ahead and create a serverless project. And that's how easy it is. Once the project's up and running, now I'm just ready to use Elasticsearch as a service. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the very low-hand corner and hit Getting Started. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload an IT policy. This happens to be a policy I found online. I think it's of a college. But this IT policy is going to have information that the large language model, in this particular case, OpenAI, is not trained on. So if I were to ask a model about a specific policy that's contained in private data, it's going to generalize. It's not going to give me too specific information. But if I upload my IT policy and use the retrieval augmented generation, and by taking data from Elasticsearch and providing that context to the large language model, then I'm going to be able to get a lot more accurate information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and upload a file. And this file we're going to do is, see here, we're going to select, and now it's uploaded. You can kind of see this is the contents of this employee-handbook. This is the IT policy. So getting to know your company, employee basics, contact types. But I'm going to go ahead and import here. And the index name here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it IT policies, and I'm going to import that data. Great. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to what's called Playground. Now, Playground is a way for you to experiment and combine the Elasticsearch data, so it's the data we just ingested, that home policies or IT policies book, with powerful large language models like OpenAI. And we're going to be able to do this retrieval augmented generation together. You'll be able to have this combination. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly connect to a large language model. I'm going to go ahead and select OpenAI. And I'm going to go ahead and give the connector name, Microsoft Build Demo. And all the other two things are optional, like my OpenAI organization or project. The only thing I need to do is copy my key in from API key. This is the key that I've gotten from an OpenAI project. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. Now that I've added or connected to a large language model, the OpenAI, I'm going to add my data sources. So obviously, this is just the only policy. We have your IT policies. And I'm going to hit Save and Continue. And now I'm ready to try to experiment with my this RAG, or giving grounding, providing verifiable information to the large language model and be able to give response back. So let's ask a question here. Is there a policy on antivirus software on computers? So I'm going to go ahead and send that here. Great. So it says the document does not specifically mention a policy on antivirus software on computers. However, it does mention that the employees are advised to keep their company-issued devices secure by following instructions for a disk encryption. So that's great. Now, generally, you would probably get a response if it wasn't this. Yes, it's always best advised, but this is specifically saying we didn't find anything in the policy. So we're able to find what we're looking for, but let's try another question. Is there a policy on computer usage? Oh, thanks. We go back. Yeah. So there is a policy on computer usage. The document outlines guidelines for computers, phones, internet connection, and social media. Now, what's great is because now we got a hit and we actually, this is incorporated in the data. What we can actually do is expand this snippet and actually see the content it's actually referring to. And actually once we look at the snippet here, then we can actually know, okay, yeah, that actually came from the data source that we have loaded in Elasticsearch. Okay, one last question. Is there a policy on bringing your own devices? Oh, I just realized I misspelled that. Bring instead of bringing. Let's see what we get. So yeah, the document doesn't specifically mention any policy on bringing your own devices or BYOD. It does, however, provide guidelines on using coming issued equipment. So that means my IT policy doesn't have anything about BYOD, but that probably means I need to reach out to my IT department and figure that out. So what's great about this is we went from a serverless project. We took a PDF file and we uploaded it to use that as context for our RAG. We connected to an OpenAI model, and then now we're able to use this playground here to really see how we interact with this data. And what's great is if we actually kind of view the code right up here. Oops, let me go back here. You can see you could use this as Python Elasticsearch client with OpenAI. So you could take this code and start to leverage this to build your own internal HR bot, right, that you could ask questions, or maybe for IT. But also, it's not just under the Python, but we also use LangChain for Python for API. So that hopefully gives you a demonstration of how quickly it is to start with an Elasticsearch project and actually end up with some usable code that you could start to build your search application with. So let's go ahead and go back to the slides. All right. Perfect. So these are kind of the upcoming features. So more clouds and regions will be available. So you'll notice Microsoft Azure is in tech preview today. Look forward to this being general availability. Right? And right now, in Elasticsearch, you can search across multiple clusters that are globally distributed. Right now, we're working on a way to do cross-project search, So you could search within serverless projects from search to observability and security and kind of, or security to search. It doesn't matter. But we're working on doing that. And of course, there's a lot of security features like restricting inbound traffic, bringing your own key. But there's actually a public roadmap here for a lot more details. And of course, without a credit card, you could start Elastic Cloud Serverless. So there's a 14-day free trial, and there's no credit card required. So you can do the QR code or check out the URL down below. And with that, thank you very much. If you have any questions, we're definitely here to help you and assist you. You can find us at elastic.co or on our forum site or even on our Slack channel at our Elastic Community Slack. Thanks again.